What's up, everybody? Tonight's Motivational Minute is on listening. Are you a good listener? Are you sure? Tune in to find out more. You definitely don't want to miss this one. Follow me on Periscope, like me on Instagram, subscribe to my YouTube page, and we'll see you there. Tonight's Motivational Minute is about listening and making sure that you are a good listener, and are you embodying the tips and the tools to make sure that you're a good listener. Now, most of us, as we do our thing and as we're in our different environments, we feel that we're good listeners because we heard the person and we may recall what they said or what they needed or what they requested, but are you really a good listener? Now, raise your hands at home. How many people meet somebody new and you can't remember their name 2 seconds after you meet them? Anybody? Anybody? So the thing that elicits means that when you meet somebody new, you're too focused thinking about your own name that you don't realize that you're not remembering the name of the person that you just met. So and look, I say this because I've been doing it for years now. Raising your hands, I love it. I say this because I've been doing this for years now, but if you can remember somebody's name, that puts you in a different level, in a different category of what that person means to you, especially when you meet them for the first time. And I challenge you, and this is just one example in the whole listening piece, I challenge you for when you meet your next person, meet somebody new, you shake their hand. Don't think about your name. Think about what they're saying and how you can respond adequately based on what you're hearing them say. Now, it's challenging because Steve Shapiro did an audio series where it's called the ATM, the Automatic Telling Machine. So the minute someone tells you something that they did, you automatically want to tell them what you did in response. And that's not listening. And the same goes with your name. You know that you're about to tell them your name because you extend your hand and they extend their hand and they say, "Hey, I'm Johnny." And you say, "Hi, I'm Daniel." And then you walk away and say, "Oh my goodness, what was their name?" It's because you were thinking about what you were going to say next, as opposed to being in the moment. What's up, Shane? And as opposed to being in the moment, responding to that person based on what they say. Now, the cool thing is, I used to work with Shane, and Shane can vouch for this. Nowadays, when I go into a meeting where I meet people new for the first time, I will memorize everyone's names because I'm in the moment. I'm listening to what they're saying, I'm listening to something describing them, and I'm listening to what they do, how they do, and staying present 100%. PJ, it's staying present in the moment. Many times we're thinking about our response to the question that we may have just asked prior to listening to see what they say. Listening to see what their response is, because when we assume or anticipate what they're going to say, sometimes we miss the mark because our response is already pre-planned and not staying in the moment based on what they're saying. So I got my little easel here, and again this year I'm really working to make sure that I incorporate these components to get myself more comfortable in this kind of setting. But you've got the word listen, Listen. Uh-oh, there we go. And you can't see it. So let me move it just a little bit. I don't know why my light does this, but anyway, so you've got listen. Don't mind the chicken scratch. I'm not a teacher. I guess I technically am a teacher because I jump on these scopes, but anyway, you get the point. Most people, when they listen, don't understand and realize that if you change the words around, you get a new word. You get silent. Don't worry about that. My next letter starts with an E. You get silent. So if you are being a good listener, you are being quiet, listening to what someone has to say. You are hearing what they have to say, not planning your next thought, not planning your response, but hearing what they have to say, staying in the moment, so that way your response is on par with what they're saying. Now, a second ago I mentioned how Steve Shapiro mentioned the whole ATM, Automatic Telling Machine. So if I'm really excited and passionate about the fact that I went to Hawaii, and I went to Hawaii and I'm saying I had such a great time, I spent 2 weeks in Hawaii and it was the best time ever and it was amazing. If I'm talking to you and you spent 3 months in Hawaii, I don't need to hear about your story to Hawaii because technically that invalidates mine because you spent longer, you had different interactions, you did different things. Same goes with Steve Shapiro used the example of if I go to someone who is a podiatrist and I need to get orthotics for my dad because my dad has a bad back. And I'm saying, yeah, I need orthotics for my dad because he's got a bad back and they'll really help him out and I want to help his quality of life. If you start telling me about how your dad has a bad back and how your dad uses orthotics and how your dad this and your dad that, if you really think about it, I have a problem that I need solved based on what I'm asking you for. But when you retort with a similar story that you think is relevant, I really don't care because I'm here to get orthotics for my dad. Your story about your dad has nothing to do with why I'm coming to you. So I give that example because oftentimes as we're listening to someone's story, it's human nature to want to tell our story that is similar. But at the end of the day, if you think about it, as you tell your story that's similar, the person that's telling you their story is telling you for a reason. Either they're excited, either they need something, or they really want to just tell you about an experience they had. They didn't ask you about your experience. Think about that. So when you're silent and when you're listening and hearing what someone has to say, don't feel the need to automatically tell your story because when you do so, it invalidates the person that you're talking to. Now, not every conversation has to have that type of dynamic, but you'll know and you'll start to understand when someone is giving information that is very special to them, that is very important to them, that is very meaningful to them. Try not to become an automatic telling machine, to want to tell your side of the story and tell your similar experience to try to relate. And also, when you think about that with the ATM process, somebody once said, like, what if I explode? I just have to tell my story. I have to tell my similar story. That is where you are silent. That is where you work on being silent as you listen. And now, after you're silent and after you're listening, and this person is telling you their story, and it's got a lot of meaning to it, and it's got a lot of heart to it. And it's got a lot of information that they're trying to convey. The next thing, if you change the words around one more time, there we go, you get the word. You get the word enlist. When you get the word enlist means to ask questions. You get to enlist when you listen because if you ask questions, it shows the person that you're talking to that you really were paying attention, that you were really vested in what they were saying, so that way you can learn more about that situation. So you can learn more about that experience. So you can learn more to add it to your own database or to your own knowledge base to make sure that you are growing and learning from every situation. Listening can be challenging, and oftentimes people who think they're the best listeners might not be. But as you look at your life and as you look at how you listen, gauge it on these three things. As you listen, are you silent? As you're silent, are you listening and hearing intently and not planning your response? And then are you enlisting? Are you asking questions after you have listened to what someone has to say to show that you were listening to what they had to say? To show that your response is in conjunction to what they said. To show that you are staying in the moment with what they're saying. Now again, I don't want you to walk away from this scope thinking that every single conversation that you have with someone that you need to listen and then be silent and then enlist in order to be successful. But as you're getting toward your goals, as you're going toward your future, as you're walking in your passions and your dreams and being successful in doing so, it will be key to make sure that you're listening correctly to those who report to you and those who you report to make sure that you are getting the most out of every situation that you can. When you listen correctly and adequately, that puts you in a whole nother circle when it comes to accomplishing your dreams. When it comes to walking in your goals and walking in your passions and being successful with it. A lot of people think that they are great listeners, but you can gauge a great listener by, are they silent? And then do they ask you questions? And I guess thirdly, are you and are they staying in the moment as they're listening to what you have to say. Active listening, 100% PJ, it is key. Guys, be amazing listeners in your life and practice it with your friends and your families and your peers, so that way when the time comes for you to be in the moment, for you to memorize someone's name right after you meet them, and to apply that to everything and anything that you're doing, I guarantee you, you will see results when it comes to you walking in your dreams, your passions, and being successful when it's time for your dreams to come to pass. Check out my website, danielpferguson.com. Tonight's Motivational Minute, I was just thinking about the whole listening process and just wanted to convey the concept of when you're listening, one, you have to be silent. Stay in the moment. And two, you have to ask questions to show the person who is speaking that you heard what they had to say and you're giving an in-the-moment response. Not a planned response, but an in-the-moment response to make sure you are achieving what they're asking you to do. Thank you, Shane. I really appreciate that. As I said, check out my website, danielpferguson.com. 159 straight days, everybody. We're keeping on going and we're going strong. As you check out the website, check out former motivational minutes. Hit me up on the contact me page. Let me know if there are topics or things you would like for me to talk about. Things you're struggling with. Things you're dealing with at your job, in your school, that you need a different perspective on. And I'd love to give you that perspective. So as I say every single night, remember, words bring life. Speak them into existence. Your greatness is waiting. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.